Hello and welcome. Yes, it's a little late, but I have made the decision that I want to go live 3 times a week from now through the end of 2021. So this is my second live this week. Thank you so much for joining me. And today you may have read something on the lines of Python programming, right? In order to get started in anything, especially if you've never had any experience in something, you must always take the first step, right? So, what do I mean by that? In today's Prosperous Heart training on Python programming, I'm going to share with you one key secret to my programming success, as well as the first step on your Python programming journey. So, again, welcome and thank you so much for joining me today. You literally could be anywhere else right now, so I really appreciate your time and energy. Be sure to tag somebody if you feel they would get value from today's video. And before I dive into today's content, I wanted to let you know about my upcoming Python Basics Bootcamp. It's now open for enrollment, and it's the lowest price it will ever be. Well, I'm not ever, but at least for this round of the bootcamp. And price goes up November 12th, so be sure to get your slot today. The URL should be above. All right, so are you thinking, is this boot camp for you? Well, if you're looking to dip your toe into the world of programming and maybe, consider a career change into STEM or just a chance to, maybe make the world a little bit better, such as, if you haven't heard of him, I believe his name is uh, Hazika Kazi. Oh my gosh, he's a 16-year-old Indian who, from India, who at just 11 years old was able to make a prototype called Ervis, ERVIS, and basically it's an invention to clean plastic from our ocean's surface. Now, if he can do that at 11, what can you do right now, right? So if you're looking to have the tech broken down into easy to understand bite-sized pieces, then definitely be sure to head on over to processheart.com/Python Bootcamp, which again, you'll see it scrolling somewhere at some point. All right, so first steps. Imagine, a young girl stepping foot onto her very first college campus. Perhaps she stays there for the whole 4 years or however long it takes to get her degree. And she's got big dreams and a lot of determination. And as she steps into her first class, right, the first day jitters, and then living through the stress of just learning all these things and getting all this knowledge and having, the whole college experience, it all starts with that first step, not tackling your entire journey at once. And imagine a few years later, that same young woman has earned her spot in one of her dream companies where she actually taught herself Python. And from there took her knowledge and her experience as a developer to teach over 1,500 students who were then able to create positive change in their own lives. If you haven't figured it out already, I'm actually talking about myself. That young woman was me. And I'm talking about stepping foot into what is now my alma mater. If you haven't heard of it, Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. Go Frogs! But basically, I just took that first step to get my college degree, which if you saw my video last, that was the good path for me, but a college degree is not necessarily required anymore, especially when it comes to programming. But that first step is to simply have that idea that you want to do something and take action towards it. So for me, Python was actually not my first step in programming. That my first step in programming was actually started back in high school. But Python, I did teach myself Python. And you can too, but wouldn't you rather break down your learning curve and save yourself some time, energy, and maybe even some frustration? I know I would have. But I learned a lot through my journey, and that's why I'm here with you today. So let's save you that time, break down some of that learning curve, and can you guess what your first step is? It's to download and actually install Python. Now, I'm going to show you where, how, and even throw in a couple of suggestions and suggestions your way in just a moment. But I have another question for you. There are plenty of places to find free training on Python programming. But if you'd like to have a live and virtual training with opportunities to implement what you learn and get feedback. Again, my upcoming bootcamp is happening, so go to that URL and get registered today because again, it goes up tomorrow. All right, so first key success. Well, first one today, first and only today. But first key of success. Oh, it's a little late. I probably should be quieter. First key of success to my programming success at least is something that most people that I've spoken to find boring. They don't actually want to do it. They don't do it, or maybe they just find it difficult because it's not something that they're used to, and it's reading documentation. In my entire career, I kid you not, my entire career, either documentation just didn't exist or it was out of date by like a lot, or any number of reasons that it wasn't something that someone who came after me would be able to move forward and actually have a very easy time of doing whatever task. So documentation, I've learned, is essential in your programming success, not just for you in case you put a project on hold and then 6 months later come back to it, but just overall success. Because at any point, you should be able to just look at your documentation and go, oh, that's what this does. And oh, this is where, I need to add in, testing, whatever. So reading documentation. Now, I'm going to go more into this in my boot camp, but basically, you really need to learn how to read technical documentation and then actually read it. Seems really easy, but it can seem also very daunting. You'll learn a whole lot by doing so versus just watching somebody on YouTube, you know? So let's go ahead and get started and showing you how to download Python, where to find some documentation, and some other tips and tricks for you. So let me share my screen. So over here, you see Python. Just simply go to python.org in any web browser. And let me zoom in a bit to make it a little bit easier to see. All right, so here you have a lot of great information. Here's where you're going to go to the downloads. You can see that it's got, you can use it on Windows, Mac, Unix, and Linux. So that's where the other platforms come into play. And documentation is here. Now, again, really go to these places. You don't have to look and read through everything immediately, but at least go to those documents. Like, for example, this beginner's guide. This has a lot of stuff in here. Now, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a step-by-step beginner's guide, but there is a lot of great information here, such as browsers that you can code in Python or learn. I've used Code Academy. I've used DataCamp. This is some great stuff that you can leverage in your learning journey. So this is where you'll go to download, where you'll go to find the documentation. And it's really simple. But here in the documentation, if you just come into it, oops, right here. Oh, Python 3.10. So Python 3.10 is the most recent. I don't know when it came out. It's like pretty fairly recent. But this is where you'll come to find the most recent documentation. If you have an older version, it's totally fine. Python.org has all of the old version data, as you can see, docs by version. But if you come in here to 3.10, you can actually go through and read the documentation on tutorial on how to get started and what to choose and all these different things that you can do. Now, I want to let you know that there is not just one way, just like in anything with programming, there is not just one way to install your Python. But what I'm going to cover today is really quick and easy. It's straight up through the tutorial, right? So if you come here to tutorial and go to, oh, maybe it's not this document. Here's a quick trick. If you go into Google, I don't know if it works in any other search, but if you go to site, S-I-T-E, :python.org, and then whatever your search term is, so let's just go install Python. What Google does is it allows you to kind of see a little bit more accurately about what you're looking for based on that website that you put in. So if I wanted to look at the beginner's guide download, which is what I was actually looking for, then you can click on that. Python releases, download Python. Actually, I wonder if it's this one. Basically, all you're going to do, yeah, there's so many versions here that you can download, right? All you're going to do is download it, whatever version, whatever operating system first, then whatever version you want, which I highly suggest doing the most recent one because that is got the most bells and whistles. It's got the latest everything. Be forewarned, though, that if you have code that uses older versions of other modules, which I'll cover that in my bootcamp, then you might actually potentially break it because sometimes modules that are not in the base download installation of Python may require an older version of Python. So you got to watch out for that, hence reading documentation. So again, you just download it, make sure that you follow the basic installation for it. It's super, super basic. There's a couple of pieces, and again, I'll go into this in more specifics in my bootcamp, but you're going to want to do the defaults probably for your entire machine. Otherwise, it's by default for single user. And I would highly suggest selecting the portion that actually installs it into your registry. It'll make things easier. And if you don't, you may potentially run into some error messages, but I will help you through that at the bootcamp if you run into it. So that is what I want to share with you today, where to find Python documentation, what to download, and the steps. And if you have any questions, please do let me know. There you have it. I talked about one major tip for programming success, which was reading documentation because it is so essential. I know, boring, but it's necessary. And I also covered how to install Python, or at least where to go. Now, there is way more to installing it that I've shared, like as I've said. I'll cover it in my bootcamp. And in a future Prosperous Heart programming training, I'm going to be sharing one of my favorite ways to create what's called a virtual environment. Virtual environment, if you're not sure what that is, it's basically, think of it like a virtual machine or a digital holding cell where the outside environment does not impact this virtual environment, right? This virtual environment is basically like a ghost of a machine, right? And that virtual machine allows you to have, let's say, a Python 3.2 or a Python 2.6. And as you code in those virtual environments, they do not impact the other, which is phenomenal. So as I said, in a future one, I will be sharing my favorite way of doing that. Now you can just use tools in order to create that for you, but there may come a time where in your interview process, they're going to ask you how to do that. And I want to show you how, or at least one of my favorite ways in order with which to do so. So with that, that's it. And last but not least, if you're ready to learn more at my bootcamp, remember prices do increase on November 12th. So if you're ready to leverage my knowledge and experience to learn Python programming, be sure to head on over to the website that's been scrolling through here for a little while now. All right, thank you so much. And remember, programming can be easy. I look forward to showing you how. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful and prosperous rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.